The new book is coming out. It comes out week 1, September 9th, I believe, Seth Wickersham to be official. It's called American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. There is no more fascinating, no more interesting, no more discussed position in all of North American sports than the quarterback. And we've already seen some massive headlines. Caleb Williams, most notably from the book. Seth, how are you, my friend? Good to see you.
It's good to see you too, but I got to be honest, like after that cat clip, I really didn't know what I was walking into. I mean, if we want to go down that path, I'll try my best. But
I don't know that you're at a loss for subject matter to write about, but if you ever wanted to do a story time with Steve Mariucci book, it's a gold mine. Yeah.
I kept waiting for like a punchline in that to say like, and then, Aaron Rodgers walked out of the living room or whatever it was. I kept waiting. That's what I was kind of hoping it would be.
If, I don't know if you've seen the new Favre doc on Netflix. I think it has its issues, but I kept watching going, I need Mooch popping up like in the corner, telling a story about like Favre and, let's put it this way, not being able to make it to halftime to get to the bathroom in time. How about that? Mooch tells a really good story about that, and the way Mooch tells it with the arms waving and the this and the that. And then if you could put it like Dan Tana's in West Hollywood with the setting, it's a gold mine. Seth,
that would be good. That would be good.
Yeah. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. I know he's not necessarily in the book that much, but we'll go there first. Why not? Because you brought it up. Just as an NFL observer, somebody that knows people, you have a gut feeling as to how this thing will play out in Pittsburgh?
I have a gut feeling that he'll probably end up there. I have no idea, what that does to team chemistry, to the program that Mike Tomlin, wants to implement and has implemented successfully for a long time. And I have no idea what that means for, his ability to get on the same page with his teammates and play at a high level. I think that if he were to walk away, I think we would have known by now. I don't know if I'm in the minority or not, but I think that he has a lot of good football left in him. And I think that going to a place like Pittsburgh is the right idea because there's a program in place that, isn't really dependent on him to be the face of. The issue with that, of course, is that there's been an entire team that's been practicing there and he hasn't been one of them. And so we can debate all we want about the merits of, the off-season program and, even to a certain extent, a lot of training camp. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, I guess we'll just see.
We will see, and hopefully we see it soon for the sake of the Steelers. They have 4 or 5 days on the field of the off-season program remaining, and then it's on to training camp. Let's get to Caleb Williams, because that obviously got the headlines a couple of weeks ago with the first excerpt in which, in essence, you're right, the Carl Williams, his dad, in the days and weeks leading up to the draft this past year, basically tried to break the draft. And that Caleb didn't want to go there. Eventually he did go there. Maybe Minnesota would have been a more favorable option, but he went there. Last season was what it was. What did you think, Seth, of Caleb going to the podium and doing 4 minutes unscripted, kind of just owning it and saying, you know what, I'm cool now, but yeah, pretty much all that is true.
Yeah. Well, first of all, so Carl, I think he more studied the draft in the year leading up to it, not really the days and the weeks.
Fair
I think
say.
at that point, I think that, look, it was Caleb driving the bus. I mean, he's his own man and he was going to make his own decisions. I didn't catch his press conference live, but I did watch it. And, I think he came off like the person that I write about in the book. And that's that he's incredibly thoughtful, studied, cautious. And, I think there was a lot of sincerity in his answer. And, that part of me, I wasn't surprised to see it because I've heard about it from others and witnessed it a little bit up close. But I also thought that it was kind of good for the world to see because he knew, and I think that everybody kind of involved with that knows that this is a small portion of my book. And even so, I captured a fraction of percentage of the conversations that happened, about that draft and, what, if any, Caleb Williams could do to try to have some agency over his future employer, kind of like how Eli Manning and John Elway did.
I thought he could have taken hey, this is dad, not me. This is all dad. I thought he could have done that. That would have been the easy way out. If I were his old man, I might have said, hey, just blame me. But he didn't. I thought his answer, as you said, he's a thoughtful guy. I thought his answer was great. But go back to his dad here, because, listen, as you well know, he talked to any labor lawyer that would listen, like, hey, how do we get around this? Seth, do you think we get to the point, and if so, how quickly is it coming, where somebody in this NIL world where players, this generation, want more control, understandably, when someone can find a way to, quote unquote, break the draft?
I think it's going to be a while. Maybe in the collective bargaining agreement, there might be something that where the league and the owners give, but I kind of doubt it. I mean, first of all, it's a phenomenally successful event for the NFL. And, second of all, there was that run of contracts that, the super agent Tom Condon engineered that, happened before 2011. And, those quarterbacks who were getting picked overall were getting, massive deals and often holding out for those massive deals, and more power to them. But it was affecting team dynamics. And I think it affected, their ability to be successful, given that there's a salary cap, and given that, if you're paying a rookie quarterback that much money, you're limited in what you can surround him by. And, those teams, a lot of those teams picking first aren't good. So there's a lot of staff turnover that affects quarterbacks too. I think that, like, if you go back and you look at John Elway's press conference that he gave with his dad in April of 1983, it is really something. And you can tell that John's a little nervous and he knows this isn't going on well. This isn't coming off well, but it's really like, if that happened today, it's hard to imagine the waves that it would create. I mean, at one point, Jack Elway kind of mocks the Colts for having the right to pick first overall. He forgot Ernie Accorsi's name and kind of rolled his eyes as if it was irrelevant. It was a really amazing moment to go back and watch now. And when you look at, like, what Carl and Caleb Williams considered, I mean, that was completely different. I mean, they did everything with them, within small circles, and, some advisors, but it was mostly, a pretty small circle of people that were debating these things. And, at the end of the day, I think that it fell on them to say the only way that this might work is if we create an untenable situation, kind of like the Elways did with the city of Baltimore. Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, had told Caleb, we're drafting no matter what. And I think, there was some deliberation about, if we do try to force a trade by making this untenable, what if they still pick me anyway? And I have to deal with it. And at the end of the day, after his visit at the Bears facility, Caleb liked his teammates and he was excited about where the Bears organization was going to go. And he was excited to be a Bear. Obviously a tough first year. I mean, a lot of their fears came true, but now I think they have what they wanted all along, which is an innovative offensive mind whose success is tied to Caleb's success.
Seth Wickersham, the book is American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. Seth, you also have Kirk Cousins in your book. You use the word untenable there. Many thought that the current situation would be untenable in Atlanta, and that is why would you pay a guy to be a backup here, all this money. I think the flip side of it is the Falcons go, Michael Penix had a lot of injury issues in Atlanta. We're paying him anyway. Why wouldn't we keep him around? From your time with Kirk, any unique insight as to what he may be going through right now and where this could lead?
Well, I take a little bit of a zoom back on Kurt, and that's that, like, look, his gift, I think, and his curse is in a lot of ways is self-awareness. I mean, Kirk Cousins knows exactly who he is and exactly where he ranks on, the list of elite quarterbacks. And, the time I spent with him, I really wanted to know how religion helps him as a quarterback and how it helps him. We hear about religion all the time, and people might, thank God in post-game interviews, but I really wanted to understand, like, when you're a quarterback and you're trying to control things in an inherently random coin flip of a game, how do you do it? What's the outlet, and how does Christianity in this case help you? So how does that help him in this current Falcon situation? I don't have a great answer for that, but globally, that was the kind of thing, and that was the the essence of the pretty deep discussion I had with Kirk about that.
Want to go to kind of non-quarterback topics, if you don't mind here. Number one, I assume you're following I hate to use the word drama, but the Belichick thing in North Carolina. We are post-June 1 now, so he could potentially get out. Potentially. I don't think that he would. How, Seth, when you're talking to people around the league, how is the rest of the league viewing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, look, if you're in North Carolina and you hire Bill Belichick, I think the one thing you think you're getting when you make him the state's highest paid public employee is a low drama, buttoned up football program. And so far, it has not been that way. And some of that is not because of Belichick's fault. But look, he bears some responsibility for this. And, I kind of, as someone who's written a book about him that was largely about him and studied him and thought about him for a long time. I mean, I kind of feel for him because, his book came out this year. I think that he was really proud of it and had worked really hard on it. The stuff with his personal life just completely overshadowed everything. And I think that people around the league, when they're looking at Bill, I think that, the sense is that, like, he's created the distraction that he would chastise his players for creating.
Is he at all a sympathetic figure? I mean, I've heard some people, and I don't know that I agree with it. Hostage is the wrong word, but that, like, he's lost his age, he's lost control, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're looking at someone who's, I wouldn't say he's controlled the narrative of his career or tried to. I think that he's controlled the narrative when it comes to trying to win games and, how they react to things. But, like, has there ever been a coach of a professional sport in the history of American sports that has gotten this much attention for his significant other? Like, I can't think of anybody. And I think that when you look at Belichick's personality, which I think is quite, he's quite comfortable speaking publicly in a professional sense, but is quite reserved in other ways. I think that, like, his personality is uniquely ill-suited for this type of attention.
That's a great way to put it. One last thing. Go back to the league meetings. Generally speaking, this, if 345 wants something to pass, it will go through. So when the Tush Push ban doesn't pass, and I think equally as significant, when there wasn't the movement, and I was surprised that it got to this point when you look at the standalone TV games and they need better matchups if networks are paying all this money in December and January. I get why they want it to change. When the reseeding faced resistance as well, what was your reaction to those hitting a wall in Minneapolis a couple of weeks ago? Because, like I said, generally speaking, 345 can whip the votes when they need to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the thing that interested me the most was that, like you said, I mean, we think about owners as, each of them sitting in their own throne and kind of controlling their own kingdom. But when they get into those types of meetings, usually groupthink prevails. I mean, you really don't see a lot of votes that aren't like, 30-1 or 31-1. The Bengals usually abstain from voting. But for the most part, this stuff isn't really contentious and isn't really debated. I thought that it was interesting that Jeffrey Lurie spoke for as long as he spoke, kind of expecting this to go down and for that play to be banned. And then, of course, it was not. I mean, I think that, like, the league will probably take it up again next offseason. I'd imagine that Roger will be able to get the 2 votes he needs if he wants this passed. But it was interesting, and I think that it's a reminder that, number one, as powerful as Roger is and as great of a job as he's done for owners, it is an owner-driven league. And number two, owners do not move quickly unless there's a profit at stake. If there's something like that to be held, they will move quickly. But when it comes to other things, I think that it's a little bit of, hey, we're not going to rock this ship too much. Let's let it play out a little bit more. And I think that's what you saw in Minneapolis. But I think, I think a lot of us were surprised that, the ban failed because, again, it's unlike the league, especially the past 5 years or so, to bring up a contentious topic, without them having a sense of where this thing was going to land.
Yeah. And when you push it from Palm Beach to Minneapolis, because in Palm Beach you don't have it, but then, hey, we'll probably have it in Minneapolis, talking, different not annual meetings, owners meetings. Yeah, it normally does go through. What should go through is your Order of American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. It comes out week 1, September 9. Go pre-order now. Can't wait to read it. Seth Wickersham, appreciate your time. Talk to you soon, sir.
Great to see you, man. Thank you.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.